But during that year, I really became acutely interested in how diet and lifestyle prevents chronic disease, but also in how we could use video conferencing to scale those types of public health programs.
Can chronic diseases be prevented? We think so, and Laurence and his team are actually seeing this happen with the innovative program they have rolled out through Fruit Street Health. Let's dive into today's conversation with Lee and Laurence.
So Laurence, why diabetes? Fruit Street's original flagship program focuses on helping people prevent type 2 diabetes. Why was this area of health what you wanted to focus on?
In high school, I was always interested in science. My uncle's a primary care physician, but I was also interested in playing professional soccer in high school, and I played for the youth team of the New York Red Bulls Academy, and that's where I started my interest in diet and exercise, which eventually became more of a public health interest when I decided to focus on something with more of a social impact and go to medical school. And so the year after I graduated from high school, I volunteered in my local emergency room in the North Shore LIJ system at Huntington Hospital, and probably spent about 700 hours volunteering in the emergency room. But it was a very unique experience because simultaneously I took 3 online courses through the Harvard Extension School. And the first course I took was in nutrition epidemiology with the Harvard School of Public Health professor. And I realized that I was probably one of the only people that has taken a nutrition epidemiology course while working in an emergency room, because they're really polar opposites. And you start to realize that a lot of the patients coming into the emergency room with conditions like diabetes, heart disease, stroke, dialysis, smoking, amputations, a lot of these conditions are preventable through diet and lifestyle. So I became very interested in how diet and lifestyle can prevent disease. And I read about people like Dr. Dean Ornish, who proved you could even reverse advanced stage heart disease through diet and lifestyle. I also became interested in telemedicine that year because I was volunteering for an education nonprofit that provided free online tutoring through video conferencing for K through 12 students. And I started to think about how do we apply video conferencing to public health. But during that year, I really became acutely interested in how diet and lifestyle prevents chronic disease, but also in how we could use video conferencing to scale those types of public health programs.
You've done a lot of volunteering, 700 hours in an emergency room. And was the education company, was that for profit or what was that?
And that was a nonprofit. I really wanted to get into medical school. I was obsessed with getting into medical school for several years.
Huh. All right, so let's make this personal. I think a lot of people, myself included, are quite oblivious, willfully, blissfully oblivious to like health problems. How can people know they're at risk of type 2 diabetes, and why is that such a big deal?
Well, the CDC has developed an online risk quiz that people can take. You can go to fruitstreet.com and take that risk quiz, but ask some questions like their age, their gender, their medical conditions, how much do you exercise, and it will give you an estimate if you're pre-diabetic, which means you have elevated blood glucose levels and you're at a high risk of developing type 2 diabetes. There's actually 88 million Americans that have pre-diabetes, according to the CDC. But the way that you can truly know if you're pre-diabetic is that you can get a blood test done to see what your A1C levels is. That's generally between 5.7 and 6.3. That would be the pre-diabetic range. But the good news is that you can reverse pre-diabetes through diet and lifestyle improvements and losing some weight.
All right, there was a phrase in that I just don't know about. Like, what's A1C levels? What's that?
It's basically a measure of your average blood glucose over the previous 3 months. So generally, if you were to improve your diet and exercise more, that number would go down over time.
Okay. So walk us through Fruit Street's diabetes prevention and weight loss program. It's not just standard wellness program. It's not just it's not exercise only. What else is involved, and how does it prevent diabetes?
Well, the history of the diabetes prevention program is that there was a large clinical trial funded with a Medicare Innovation Grant where they wanted to determine how to prevent people with prediabetes from developing type 2 diabetes. So they had enrolled approximately 3,000 patients with prediabetes into a clinical trial, and they wanted to determine how to prevent type 2 diabetes. So they had 3 arms to the trial. There was a placebo arm, another took the drug metformin, and the third was in a lifestyle modification program that consisted of 22 classes with a lifestyle coach, covering topics like diet, exercise, sleep, stress management. The patients would write down what they ate, how much they exercised. They would weigh themselves and attempt to lose 5 to 7% of their weight. And to their surprise, what they found was that the lifestyle modification program was more effective than metformin in preventing type 2 diabetes. The lifestyle group reduced their risk for type 2 diabetes by 58%. And that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, and really proves that lifestyle has a really amazing ability to prevent chronic disease.
Lifestyle coach is a new sort of phrase for me. Of course, I know health coach, business coach, that sort of thing. But a lifestyle coach kind of sounds like a bit like a fashion guy, or someone who can get you, dating advice. What lifestyle coach? What are some of the things they do?
It's a little more clinical, although some of them probably could give you that advice because they're very smart people. But basically, the term lifestyle coach is kind of a CDC term. So in order to deliver the diabetes prevention program, you have to take an 8-hour course, which teaches you how to facilitate the National Diabetes Prevention Program. So how do you run a group class? How do you use techniques like motivational interviewing to ask open-ended questions to participants that motivate them? So you don't have to be a dietitian. In fact, a layperson can take this course and be a lifestyle coach. And that makes the program more scalable. Many of the diabetes prevention programs are run by, church leaders, people at YMCAs, hospitals. They're not always a dietitian or a doctor.
You mentioned that lifestyle coaches have to do some CDC, classes for doing group sessions, how to run them, and so forth. Are there group sessions for participants in the Fruit Street program? But actually, what I'm more interested in is, what are your insights into why groups motivate participants to get healthy and stay healthy? Like, why is that so fascinating, and so effective?
I think there's some sort of group psychology approach. I think that it has some accountability. So the structure of the diabetes prevention program in the Fruit Street program is 26 classes in a year. It meets weekly in the beginning. So every week, participants will come to class and they'll share what went well for them this week, what didn't go well, what are their goals, and they'll often learn from other participants. So it's not just a dietitian giving a lecture or a lifestyle coach giving a lecture. It's some other participant in the class says, well, one thing that helps me exercise more is going for a walk with my spouse after dinner. And that resonates with another person in the group. So I think that they learn from each other. But also you can check in and, someone maybe, lost 5 pounds, and that motivates you to do that as well. And with Fruit Street, it's a digital diabetes prevention program, right? So we have live group video conferencing on Zoom, where participants can join from the Fruit Street mobile app or their computer. We give them a wireless scale and a Fitbit, and they can take pictures of their food in our app. But we're planning to add features like, how much weight did this group of 20 people lose together? So that it's kind of like you're working towards this greater goal that's kind of bigger than your own individual goal.
I wonder if, I know that Fruit Street has integrations and partnerships with Fitbit. And I wonder if those group weight loss goals will be facilitated by Fitbit. I actually have never used Fitbit. Talk me through the Fitbit activity tracker. What is it? What does it do? Etc.
Yeah, you can track how many steps you take per day. A lot of people have a goal of hitting 10,000 steps. You can track physical activity minutes. The recommendation for the diabetes prevention program is to have 150 minutes of moderate physical activity per week. Of course, you have the wireless scale where you can track your weight loss over time. And typically the goal is 5% weight loss. So if somebody signs up for the diabetes prevention program and they're 200 pounds, their goal would be to lose 10 pounds in a year. And that's been shown to be the amount of weight you need to lose to really significantly reduce your risk for diabetes. But yeah.
Well, in terms of digital health entrepreneurs, I'm just help our listeners figure out how your partnership with Fitbit came about. Did Fruit Street reach out to them? Did Fitbit reach out to Fruit Street? How did that alliance come about?
We use the magic of LinkedIn for almost every business relationship. So I believe I emailed Tim Warner, one of their executives at the time, and she responded. But I think I might have sent a LinkedIn message to every Fitbit executive on LinkedIn.
That's awesome. And you also have I don't know if integration is the right word, but you definitely have a partnership with Purple Carrot. And I use a lot of meal delivery services, but I've never used Purple Carrot. Why'd you pick that one?
Well, Purple Carrot is a plant-based meal delivery kit, and there's a lot of science that shows that a plant-based diet is actually healthier than including meat in your diet. I also personally tried it and thought it was quite delicious. Actually, there was some sort of African stew that I cooked, and apparently it was so delicious that my wife cried, which is weird because I don't really know how to cook. So maybe it was the ginger in it or something, but it's very delicious. And I think that it helps participants because I think a lot of people are looking for like, what should I eat? Has a dietitian or a lifestyle coach approved this, right? And so it's just a convenient way to build those cooking skills, which is part of the diabetes prevention program curriculum.
Hey, Laurence, was there something big in your life, like a life-changing event that encouraged you, triggered you to start pursuing these health initiatives?
Yes, when I was volunteering in the emergency room while taking that nutrition epidemiology course, of course, there were a lot of patients that would come into the emergency room. They would get off the ambulance, and they would be having some sort of heart attack, for example. But there was one particular case where it was in the summer, and there was this very obese man that he comes over the loudspeaker to the nursing station first, and they kind of describe the patient. So it'll be like, obese man, age 55, cardiac arrest, right? And I could hear it. I was a pre-med student. I would I would change the bed sheets, bring patients food, bring them blankets, that kind of thing. So I heard, over the loudspeaker, and we then saw the ambulance come, and this morbidly obese man, probably, I don't know, must have been 400 or 500 pounds, and the EMTs basically dropped him as they were transferring him from the ambulance to the stretcher. And they eventually get him back on the stretcher. And then while he's on the stretcher, getting moved to one of the, they have these like rooms that are in the front of the emergency room, so that like if someone's having a real emergency, they kind of reserve because they're closer to the ambulance. But as they're pushing this guy, one of the EMTs is literally, throttling him like he's like, his knees are like on either side of the guy, and he's doing CPR while the other medics are like pushing him, right? So they're doing real-time CPR. And, they get him into the trauma bay, is what they call it, I think. And, rip his clothes up. They start intubating him. They start doing CPR. And, basically this guy dies. And I'm sitting there in the corner because one of the nurses said, why don't you come and just go in the corner? Her name was Michelle, this nurse Michelle. And why don't you just, watch, because you're a pre-med student, you want to go to medical school. So, the guy dies, they announce his time of death. There's like 20 different people in the room. And then I just kind of go back to what I'm doing, which is, changing the sheets and everything. And I had a pretty good relationship with the nurses at this point. Then, one of the male nurses comes back and he says, we need your help, with this guy that died. And they had kind of a sense of humor about it because they have to, because they deal with this every day. But, it's me, these two male nurses, and this guy is now like, in a bag, right? I mean, he's dead, right? So we're wheeling this guy to the morgue, the three of us. They leave me with the guy in the elevator while they have to go get the key to the morgue, while, pediatric patients and their parents are like walking by the elevator. And so we go downstairs, and me and these two male nurses had to physically lift this guy who was in the bag into like a container in the morgue. And then I was just like, that's basically what obesity is. I mean, this is killing people, but like you're literally lifting this obese person that died, right? And that's what it is. And so, at that point, it was just kind of like, this is so unnecessary. I mean, it's so preventable. So that was quite interesting and, tragic, obviously. And I had my little pre-med journal that I would write down experiences. That's one of the things they recommend to pre-med students, write down your experiences. But it definitely motivated me to pursue, this and just preventing diet and lifestyle related diseases.
And is that why it was so significant? Because you could see this one man and you sort of like extrapolated it, you multiplied it to the millions of Americans who are obese and unnecessarily dying early? It was as simple as that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's easy to read about obesity in a public health journal or an article, but it doesn't really touch you emotionally in the same way that an individual patient story does. So I think that makes it just more emotional for you.
So Laurence, can you share any participants' stories or anecdotes about the successes they've had with getting healthy, staying healthy through your programs?
Yeah, so we've now had thousands of people go through the program successfully and lose weight. There's so many different people, but we've had people that have lost, 50 pounds that have said it has, changed their life. And then we have people that sign up and we ask them, well, what motivates you to sign up for this program? And they'll say things like having energy to play with my grandkids, reducing my risk for chronic disease, enjoying life more, losing weight for a wedding. But there's all these powerful reasons that are not just vanity weight loss. They really just want to live a better life and avoid chronic disease.
Okay, well, wrapping up, Laurence, just want to say thank you for sharing your personal insights into disease prevention, getting Americans healthy and so forth. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Digital Health Entrepreneurship with Laurence Girard. Do you know someone who is interested in the innovation of digital health? If so, share this episode with them. Also, make sure to join us tomorrow where we dive into some of the business side and we talk about one of the essential contracts that every business should have in place.